Right. Hello, everyone, one more time. I'm going to start sharing my screen. Okay, so I guess first thing we need to go to need to get feedback from discussion moderators and issue triagers last week. I see it was Blake and Eugene. Do you have anything you want to share?
Speak for myself, I found some which are interesting talk. I kind of listed them from in order of interestingness. Some are, I think some of these are at least worth just giving through a few words. Like this one, for example, support OCI artifacts as value sources. So we already have values files for Git repositories. So the pattern of having a Helm chart and then having a Git repo with the values file. This basically is a feature request for the same thing. I mean, for consistency, I guess it makes sense. On the other hand, it begs the question, like if you have an OCI artifact, why not just package it all in the OCI artifact? But I mean, it wouldn't be too hard to implement if we would want this. So figured it's at least worth a few words. Mm. I thought this was
And
already.
I'm curious what is not supported today. Is it impossible to reference value files from OCI or other way around or
That's
both?
that's that's what I so if I understand correctly, it would be possible to reference values files from an OCI from OCI chart. I haven't actually tested this when doing the OCI feature.
Mm,
I would be shocked if this wasn't working. But if this is the case, it wouldn't be too hard to implement that. Basically, like the whole reference in the values file. But that's the question. I would need some time to dig into this. I just
mm,
saw this just before the session. But I wouldn't be shocked if this didn't work.
mm. I know that we sometimes kind of debating if we need proposal or not, but I've, in my opinion, in this case, it's kind of expected to work, and I don't, you know, I do not see any controversy.
No, I agree. I think it's pretty. I mean, it's just more of like it's. It would. It does. It would be inconsistent to not have this as well for the
Mhm.
series. That's we get repos. So I can take a look at that and work with
Okay,
it.
if no one else has any objections, I think it's yeah, it's good to be done. Okay, so then move to the next one. Blake, do you want to talk about the next one?
Yeah, this one was also an interesting one. I haven't looked deeply into the RBAC capabilities of impersonation of application deletion finalizers, but someone more versed in this can feel free in discussing this is something which worthwhile. I mean, it sounds worthwhile off the top of the head, but I'm not too versed in the impersonation to say for sure.
I agree with you that it makes sense. I feel like if impersonation is configured, it sounds like logically that Argo CD should use it for any operations, that it when it touches resource. But I never worked on impersonalization feature. I'm curious if anyone in this meeting have like more knowledge. So,
Yeah, it's one of the Red Hat guys. So we're Red Hat people, right? That worked with this. Guess no one's in the room here with us, sadly. So
mhm.
take a rain check on that one. But
It
maybe we.
also on the border of like a feature slash bug to me. It's like if I was a user, I would just expect that it does use impersonalization to delete because it's like kind of impersonalization. So I guess supposed to be just a controller level feature, not the sync level feature.
And probably even more than controller level, it should probably also apply to actions performed via the API server. That
Mhm.
might be drawn and documented, but I think ideally you'd want both.
Okay, and I don't want to do it right now, but maybe everyone who agrees can just comment in this issue as well, and including me, and we can say, yeah, that sounds like it. Do not require too much discussion. It should be done. Okay, I want to move on to the next one.
This one is more, Dan and I looked at this. I mean, this is basically monorepo with a shit ton of apps, and this is basically causing deadlock. I'm trying to, I was asking for a bit more info, like if the manifest to generate paths was used on this or not. And I guess the question becomes like, is this something which, if we do not use it, if this is something which we would consider a bug or not, or like an issue or not, if it's not used, and if so, well, I guess. But I suspect this would probably be highly alleviated if manifest generate paths was used in this, but it's not clear if if this has been used in this issue or not. But basically, TLDR basically deadlock after with 450 so apps that are in a monorepo.
I struggle to understand the reason right now, but I think promising part of this bug that it has dumps attached. That should be enough to find what exactly is broken. So at least it's not hopeless, but someone who has time
Yeah, I don't
can
know
work on it.
don't know
Mhm.
how code has been here, but it might lead us down some path, good or bad. But yeah,
I mean, I think Blake, if their issue is resolved by using the manifest paths, then I don't think it's a bug, but it might be worth adding in the documentation like that this error, like putting this error under that line in the documentation to say like, okay, that was the issue. Like this is something that's known to happen. I still want them to come back and verify that that changed things for them if they add that in.
Claude thinks the problem is a deadlock in the live state cache, but the live state cache isn't used in the repo server. So go Claude.
I only skimmed over the code analysis. I just saw the.
Okay.
I
She thought you were saying something.
Okay.
oh shit! I would get some background noise from someone. Not cool. Okay, I guess. Do you think can we do anything about this issue right now, or is it just to bring attention and
Bring
hopefully?
attention
Mhm.
if someone cares enough to look into it. If this
Mhm.
isn't like something which isn't resolved by just using the manifest paths, basically.
Okay, and in this case, I guess we can move to the next one.
And this one is more like this. This is pretty obvious, but I was under the impression that this was working before, so this has for me been the surprising factor. And the guy or person who added this seemed like it's I mean, like the proposed fixes on the bottom, which seems reasonable at a glance, but for me, it just feels a bit weird that this hasn't been either fixed or this hasn't come up before. But long story short is, if you scroll down, Alex,
Mhm.
basically it's just to list all the list all the applications in all namespaces
Mhm.
of pharmacy, which makes sense. It's just so
Yeah,
puzzled that it hasn't
it
been
looks
fixed.
like a simple bug, like a leftover from we do need to have, I don't think it can be just blindly replaced because it will fail, if
No, we'd have to
and-
validate like with the allowed namespaces in the controller, sure. Yeah, I was just more surprised that this wasn't a thing. It's
yeah.
not.
So if person creates PR, it will be super easy. I see comment from Michael, just want to make. Yeah, so that should be really easy to fix. And oh yeah, Michael, just the comment. Okay, I think that your intention achieved. So now this person has all the information to create PR. Okay, I'll move on to the last one.
This is Eugene. I have no idea about this one.
Okay, it is mine. It's some strange looking bug, something that user thinks it's corrupting uh, application set manifests. It was looking in the first formulation by the user, it was looking just strange and frightening. It's just something shouldn't happen with such a solid product like Argo CD. But after some replies, could you please scroll down? The user gives some examples. And we see that I think I haven't yet looked into the code, but I think it's just we're adding default structures, a default template and default. Probably we see that sync policy is default. It's written back as empty, but it's the meaning of the struct the same. I suppose it's something like that. I haven't looked in the code. If someone knows more about this code, please.
I'm trying to understand, does application set corrupt data of upsets themselves or applications?
I suppose it's application set controller corrupts because it's managed field by this field is managed by application set controller. So I suppose it's working with its own manifest.
So I see that it creates template in this example here at like a.
It creates empty template. All fields empty. You can see it from the example below. Not just it copies some templates with some garbage. It's just default structure. Probably it doesn't have no influence on the working of the application set, but it looks nasty in the eyes of the user.
Oh yeah, that.
And it cleared sync policy. Now it's empty. The former version has one false field. Sync policy above in the spec. Below the template. He
Okay.
commented now it's empty. Sync policy now it's empty.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, so there was a set of values here, and here it's just default, I guess.
Isn't that just, am I missing something? It's not the sync policy for the application set versus the sync policy for the generated app, or am I completely misunderstanding?
So I think I followed. I mean, I see. I guess to me, these two examples explain the problem. So that's what user applied, and then application set injected values and deleted some values, and does look like a bad bug. But I did not follow the theory. Like, why is it happening? I cannot explain what could have caused that.
So I'll continue looking at the code.
Is there a chance that there's some kind of unhandled value? Because they're using this with the pull request template, so they're getting like some sort of unsanitized value that they're passing in that's causing these to render incorrectly. Because these fields are added, it almost looks like it failed rendering and just dumped the extra fields. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess, I mean, that proves it was application set itself, so it did that, but why did it inject this non-existing fields? I can't say. Yeah. If I was working on it, I think I would double check if do we even have a Go struct that has this, template field ever, and if it's there, then I would start looking for, code like logic in the code where it sets it to empty value.
Okay, I'll
Yeah,
continue looking into that.
Thank you. And yeah, I guess so. At least I cannot suggest, cannot suggest anything that would simplify the search for the bug.
There is a related issue that this reporter linked to
Mhm.
at the bottom that has the same struct being injected.
This one, but
Yeah.
interesting. And do we know, like, what does it do in the end? Does it cause any failures, or is it just inconsistent value and
They write that it has no effect on functionality.
Mhm.
Doesn't it look like it's an extra application manifest that's being dumped in with no value? Like, if there was some unsanitized value getting passed in that causes it to jump. Because right, like what are we looking at here? We're looking at it's added in this like extra template with these default values, but that's clearly that's like it looks like it's getting like the next it's like it's got an extra object in the list, and so it's dumping the struct in for applications when it generates them. My money's on some kind of unsanitized value. That's what it looks like to me. That's what it feels like.
I don't know if it helps. At least I kind of answered one question I had for myself. So we have this pull request generator struct, and it does have template field, and it's annotated with, omit empty, meaning, it should not be there if this value is empty. But since it was there, that means it wasn't empty. And I guess somewhere in the code we set one of those like guys to they were modified. And then Golang decided to marshal it as something instead of just omit completely. Yeah, and then big question is like to go through upset code and find where exactly, like which field was touched. And this is weird to me because all of that looks empty. So metadata has nothing. So yeah, I think that the problem is that this value is supposed to be translated to Golang struct that Go interpreted as empty, and it should not be ever here. Yeah. Okay. I want to Mhm. I want to move
Yeah.
on because I think that will be really hard to like solve during the meeting.
I just want to ask, do you think this may be happening because of how abstract controller is trying to apply a merge or a part operation that is going to assume an incorrect open API schema?
Yeah, I can't answer Nitish, sorry. I do not know right now. All right, I want to move on. I think this will take a long time if we like try to solve it
Let's
here.
move on.
Yeah, so I want to move to the so we spend a lot of time discussing about issues, and I almost forgot. So we need to find moderators for next week. So it's not going to be not Blake, not Eugene. Do we have any volunteers?
You can add my name as a primary.
I can
It's
do
not
secondary.
I can add it. Yeah, let me add it in the document
thank you.
directly.
And Alexander, you was second one. Thank you. All right, so back to topics. It's Blake again. You added a lot of topics. So
I had a backlog of a few weeks.
first one is migrate UI to PNPM. Yep.
Basically, it's there. Worked. I tried this out using the UI, and there's a bit of migration topics related to that. I got someone from a UI-oriented person looking at least some of it. So it's would be good to just get some eyes and opinions on this.
I'm a
I can
really
share.
UI noob.
Mhm.
I'm curious if you could just walk us through why and what we get.
I mean, in the end, it was just like I think the main thing is that Yarn has not been maintained for quite some time. On one and anything that implies any migration or any kind of upgrades to any kind of non-maintained thing would imply kind of. I mean, Yarn 2 is a pretty big overhaul in itself, and now it's even Yarn 3, Yarn 4. I don't even know what in the end. I think the main thing is just in the end, it's more of a development thing just to keep things up to date. I mean, concretely, I wouldn't say there's much in terms of development benefits. I mean, the benefits would be pretty marginal in terms of uh, of having node modules not being shared amongst multiple projects. But I mean, and in terms of development experience, I wouldn't expect anything groundbreaking or so. So uh, it's just more like to try and keep things up to date, really, because there's a lot of UI related things. There's one of many UI related topics that we could kind of use a refresh of.
Since I work with UI still and we use PNPM internally, I can say that it kind of improved quality of life. I don't know exactly how it works internally, but install command is much quicker. And my guess is, I think instead of having, so I think Yarn, when it run install, it downloads everything and use as a cache local node modules. And PNPM, if I'm not mistaken, it kind of downloads it in some centralized location. And then local node modules is a bunch of symlinks. So it doesn't download
Exactly.
stuff multiple times. And that's why it's quicker.
And it's basically like, and it's the big benefits are if you're developing a lot of JavaScript projects at once.
Yeah.
Probably
So
not
they
so huge.
all
Yeah,
they all kind of share same cache. Yeah. Or if you like dump delete completely your Argo CD repo and then you decide to like reinstall it, it will be instantaneous because cache is somewhere else. And then we've been using it for like how many, 3 years, and have not regretted. Like we have not run into a single weirdness. Okay, I guess we at least we shared what we could share about it. Yeah, and then it's a matter of motivation if anyone decides to work on it. Maybe I want to ask, like, are there any no's? Like, anyone have objections?
Are you targeting this for 3.2 or?
No specific version. I mean, it depends on who wants to review it and kind of confirm that this is a thing. I mean, I've run this locally, so I mean, from my perspective, this is working as intended. But it could be 3.2, could be 3.3. It's really up to there's any.
Actually, I didn't realize so this is pull request, so the work is done, or is it still in progress?
No, the work is done. It's just needs some love in terms of reviewing.
Okay. We can collaborate. Yeah, I can help with it.
Awesome.
Do you mind? Is it okay to switch it to ready for review?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. I can click the button. Yeah. All right, and so we didn't got any objections, so yeah, I'll help with review. Okay. Next one is select the cherry pick bot.
Yeah, that's so me. So our cherry pick bot died on us, and it's kind of annoying that simple cherry picks requires a kind of a manual workflow. So I put this in the provers channel. Basically, like the initial iteration was doing a comment, then it was bit back and forth with Michael and Alan, and now I've reverted to just basically it's a comment, it's a label-based workflow. So you put in like a cherry pick dot -30, put it on the pull request, and once it's merged, then it will just cherry pick, do simple cherry pick into the various release branches. So I haven't looked into. I know there's various GitHub actions out there. I haven't really taken a deep look at them, and I felt like it didn't really warrant the. I mean, if someone else feels that strongly about using a third-party GitHub action for it, then I can look into it. But it felt like the GH CLI and Git CLI was kind of did much of the work, but if anyone has any other opinions?
I'm curious. Can we use it to cherry pick a commit after PR is merged?
Yeah. So it's so basically like either PR is merged. I mean the label comes on whenever, like either before or after. But like, so what happens is that if a PR is merged, you add a label, it then performs the action, or you put the labels on before the actual merge. And when it gets merged, then the cherry pick happens. So both flows work.
Oh, and I'm super just curious. How do you know which commit is it after the merge?
Well, so I tested this, and it's basically the merge. So since we squashed the commits, it's basically like that merge commit is the one that gets cherry picked. I try to emulate the flow of this.
Oh, so it's GitHub itself. It knows what commit.
Yeah.
I think it's super useful. Yeah, I never liked cherry pick bot. I mean, I liked it, but I never could understand why it doesn't work sometimes. If it's working, then it seems to be the same functionality except stable. Is it?
I mean, I think in the end, it's basically like it's something like I mean, it's right there, like what it does, so we can basically see what we actually do in order to like both the Git commands as well as the GitHub commands as well to see how to. But in all, I run this on my local fork, and it's so basically if we were to have it, then we need a GitHub app as well, just to be able to generate the tokens and to basically not to have PATs to use a PAT, but basically if we were to, if this is of interest, I mean, I can work on
Sorry,
this.
can you say it again? So the remaining part is to provide value for this token, it's like create a bot.
Exactly. So basically just have some GitHub act that will just generate these tokens and then have some kind of suitable, basically we don't just attribute the cherry pick commit to some personal user.
So I have access to Argo. I think I have access to Argo bot, that the GitHub user that represents Argo. We can use this guy.
Yeah, sounds good. And that's of interest and could use that, then just use that as the cherry pick as the GitHub app to cherry pick with. Then yeah, that works.
All right, so I can help with it too. I think there is not much left to do. So if no objections, we can finish this together. Okay, I want to move on to the next one, that the issue about migrating engine back into Argo CD repo.
Yeah, actually, I should have removed it because I had the PRs, I got comments that I will work on them. Just a kind reminder, guys, that probably once I resolve the comments, I need to probably merge it sometime next week. Yeah, that's all. There are two pull requests about the scripts, and one about the actual merge. Probably I can recreate one more with the actual migration after the scripts are improved, and that's all. There's nothing else that we need to discuss.
Thank you. I guess thanks for that. That is exciting. It's been a big pain to maintain two repos.
Yep.
And can we skip like all these three, or do you want to talk about any of those pairs?
No. There are three different pull requests. We need all of them, but I've got already comments for them, so I can work with Clio and merge this in this sprint definitely.
Thank you. Okay, in this case, I would jump to next issue.
Yeah.
And I see there is a PR. I think it's Michael, maybe to get your attention and review.
Michael he's already commented on the on the PR here. I just wanted to kind of bring it up again for FYI. If Michael has anything to say about it, we can talk about it here. But I added it to the list last week before we talked about it.
Initial reaction is, holy cow, it's a lot of code to fix, a relative edge case, but it does improve robustness quite a bit. But thank you for going to all the effort of like making it a really thorough feature. It's not half-baked in any way, at least from what I've seen.
Awesome. Yeah. And there's I think the last time we talked about it, somebody asked for like a screen recording of what it looks like broken and fixed. So those are on there as well. But yeah, basically there's a cache now for GVKs that fail when the cluster the cache goes to fetch them. And there's, I think, the configurable TTL on them. But it fixes the issue.
Thank you. All right, so I'm moving to the next one. So it's also you, Jonathan. So the issue is
also me. So I realize I'm skipping the triage line a little bit because I just filed this yesterday. But so the problem that I'm having right now, I am running Crossplane in my cluster, and one of the things that Crossplane has in its resource hierarchy is there are cluster scoped objects that own namespace scoped objects, and the namespace scoped objects just don't appear in the list. They just do not appear in the tree. And so what this issue reports, and there's also a PR that fixes it, is it adds an optional second pass during resource iteration traversal in the hierarchy to run another pass with cluster scoped objects and namespace children in the current namespace.
And that's the pull request.
Sorry, what?
And this is the pull request, correct? That
Yes.
fixes.
Yeah, it's a GitOps engine fix. That just adds a second loop, second process at the end.
I guess my first reaction, I think it's highly likely going to work. The only danger is it might be slow. So I I feel like in this, it's like a sensitive area, and usually it's good to have emergency environment variable to disable it. That
Sure.
is one thing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if this becomes an issue at scale, we will definitely find it. At Sumo, we have a enormous deployment. So yeah, I will add that in.
Just to make it easier to review, you said it's an optional loop. Okay. Do you know what makes it optional? Like, is it am I right that it tries to search for resource in the namespace, and if it's not there,
scroll down, you'll find the second pass. Is it? Yeah, that one. So if we've already found it, then we skip it.
Okay, so if it's in the same namespace, we just get it, and if it's not there, then only then it goes elsewhere. Okay, that is promising. So it, in theory, it's supposed to only affect applications that have this type of relationship.
Yeah, it's a fallback case. So yeah, and then if you look at the tests as well, the tests cover the case, right? They fail when you have that hierarchy in the old version, and then they work in the new version where you have that same hierarchy.
Is there permissions? It looked like you were doing some permissions check there too.
Let me see.
I think permissions check usually done, elsewhere in the project, like in Argo CD itself, where before showing anything, we're checking if it's allowed, not allowed in a project itself. And this piece is usually, it's like not concerned about permissions. It just tries to.
Oh, so if it's outside of the project, it shouldn't be able to get it anyway.
Yeah, I think like high level, this gets everything, and then we have additional filtering later in Argo CD code to like either hide or. And so I would recommend to add the environment variable, and then we have like elsewhere in the project we have this like lazy. It doesn't have to be like a setting that. I guess the typical approach is we don't want users to ever hopefully find about the setting, and then the environment variable is only for emergency scenario. So if user reach out to us and we want to help them, so basically a simple way is to like literally in the same Golang file add a Golang variable that reads its value from environment variable. And at least in the past, we would not like add a documentation for it because this is for emergency. And then we have an easy way to disable this logic if it suddenly makes someone's application controller very slow. And then later,
there should be a benchmark test for this. And since this is like most application will not have cluster resource that then have owner reference back to namespace resource. So this is a minority of the use case. If the function performance is degraded for every use case because of this additional loop, it's problematic, even if it's a global setting that applies to all applications. So probably this setting will need to be scoped to one specific application, because that's gonna be like you want the behavior to be, you want this second loop to be called only on known applications.
Are you suggesting to like introduce this setting right away, or because I think I was suggesting a simple emergency case scenario, and then if later on we find out that it's a problem, but good functionality, then we can introduce up level setting.
It all depends on what's the performance impact. Because this function is I think the function that's called the most often in the console, and that's the function that takes the most time.
I think you need to make it disabled by default and have a flag to enable it. And then once we have performance impact data, which sounds like Jonathan is going to be able to collect for us all.
And yeah, I think probably the best flag for that is something that's specific to an application. So maybe an annotation to enable that behavior.
I think data first, then decide how to configure. Fewer options is always better than more options.
I see we only have 2 minutes left and like 3 different opinions, so maybe we put them in the PR now, and that's the
Yeah, that'd be appreciated.
Yeah,
I won't be able to make it next week. I'll be off, but after that, I'll be back.
all right. And let's see. We have like 2 more topics. I'm not sure, Jonathan, do we have enough time to discuss it in 2 minutes? Would it be enough?
That is an old issue that I filed a while ago when I had some behavior that kind of confounded me about app sets automatically deleting child applications that that were removed from the spec. That default behavior kind of surprised me because of the way that Argo tracks the pruning of literally everything else. So the fact that we don't have the ability to choose whether or not to prune child applications of application sets was quite surprising. So that's what this is about. But no PR for this one.
Yeah. And I think that's a discussion, and we unfortunately don't have time, so I guess we just can keep it in the list, and I'll after the meeting update the doc and move it to the next discussions topics. And I think that's it. We are out of time. I missed some comments. All right, I guess it's let me stop sharing, and that's end of meeting. Thanks everyone for joining.
Okay.
Thank you. See you next week.